Ever thought or dreamed about starting your own med spa but have no idea where to begin? Well, you're in luck because today I am going to discuss with you all the certifications, all the tips to succeed, as well as requirements for your license for you to start your med spa business. Before I begin, let me introduce myself for those who are new to my channel. My name is Dr. Kiiyonna Jones. I am owner and founder of Luxe Beauty and Wellness Boutique, which is a med spa located in the LA area, as well as Luxe Beauty Academy. Luxe Beauty Academy is exclusively and solely created to support nurses and nurse practitioners who are interested in entrepreneurship. I'm really excited to dive into this topic because this is definitely my space. I've been a med spa owner since 2017, and I've had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and I've also coached and mentored nurses and physicians on launching their own practice. It is really, really important for me to be able to create this space where I can help a lot of other healthcare professionals at one time by creating this one video avoid the common and costly mistakes that are often made when people are launching their practice. If you find this video valuable and you find that you got a lot of information that you can actually use that'll translate into the real world, I would love for you to subscribe, turn those notifications on, and I also have a free training that is called the Medspa mini training that I actually give out for free, and it dives more deeper into the startup portion as well as licensing, credentialing, and all of that when it comes to launching your medical spa. So if you're interested in that, make sure you go ahead and click that in the description box as well. We'll start with what a med spa is, because I know there's a lot of information out there. You hear the terms medical spa, and then you also hear terms like day spa, and then just spa alone. So the questions I always get is like, okay, so what makes it a med spa? And here's what I want to tell you. If they are offering any type of treatments that are medical grade treatments, then it is a medical practice. Now, the spa part came along when surgeons and aesthetic injectors were trying to differentiate themselves from like primary care clinics or urgent care clinics. So they didn't want to just be called like a medical practice or a medical clinic. Like, it sounds kind of stale, and typically is not something that would attract people. So the reason it's called med spa or medical spa, believe it or not, is just a marketing little strategy where we want to ideally attract people who are interested in receiving medical treatments, but they want to receive it like in a spa-like setting that's nice and very like inviting. However, when we peel away all those layers, that thing is still a medical practice. And as such, there are rules and requirements that are required in order for you to compliantly open up a medical spa. Now, if you see the term day spa, then you know it has to do with non-medical treatment. So that could be maybe owned by an esthetician, maybe even owned by someone who is not even an esthetician or cosmetologist, but a business owner, right? The services and treatments that are typically offered there is like facials. Maybe they may offer waxing. Maybe they may offer electrolysis, which is a type of laser hair removal that estheticians in most states are able to do. These type of places does not require a medical director. These practitioners are able to operate under their cosmetology license. Now, every state is different. What I want you to take away from this is that if they do not offer any type of medical treatments, then technically it can be considered a day spa. And that's essentially the difference between the day spa and then medical spa, med spa, medi spa, aesthetic practice, and all the other marketing names that are used for these practices. Another common question I get is like, okay, well, what about licensing and credentialing? Like, what do I need in order to open this? Now, I will provide a little caveat. I am focused on those who are nurses, nurse practitioners, for the most part, to open up these practices because I am a nurse practitioner. And when I first launched my practice, I was a registered nurse. I was not a nurse practitioner at the time. So I typically help those who are in that space. Now, with that being said, I'll give you some generals, okay? Now, I go deeper in my Medspa mini training, which you can click on the link in the description and obtain that. But for this purpose, I will just give you high-level information. So when it comes to credentialing, if you're a registered nurse practitioner, in most states, you can inject these type of treatments. So neurotoxins, A.K.A. Botox, fillers, things like that. In most states, you can. Now, there are a few exceptions for RNs. For RNs, there are states like Florida, which is still trying to figure it out. They are introducing legislation that will allow you to inject like tox and fillers, but as it stands right now at the time of this recording, they're not able to do it. So RNs are not able to inject in that state. Mississippi, Alabama, those are states that are very, very strict, and they say no nurses, RNs, are not able to inject. And like states like Louisiana says you can inject, but you need to have a physician present in the location in order to do that. Now, you have other states like Texas, which says if the doctor trained you, you can do it. And what that looks like is you don't even have to be necessarily an RN. You can be an MA, you can be an esthetician with an E. And if your doctor trains you and they're willing to say and vouch for you, pretty much you can do whatever you want. Then you have the states like California, which is very, very strict, and RNs can inject, but there are certain criteria that we have to meet. For example, we have to have adequate training. We also have to have a medical director who provides these orders for us to follow, but we can't own 49% of our practice in the state of California. So there's a lot of differences, and of course I did not cover all of them, but just know that for the most part, most RNs can, and I repeat, can inject tox in these type of aesthetic treatments, but there are some states that do not allow that, versus NPs and PAs, they can inject all aesthetic treatments in every single state, all right? A lot of times I get questions from people and they're like, well, I know I have to be certified as an aesthetic nurse. Well, technically you don't. CANS is the Certified Aesthetic Nurse specialty, right? And so you cannot even apply for that certification until you've been working as a nurse injector for at least 2 years. The next thing is, do you have to work at a practice, an aesthetic practice, before you open your own? And the answer to that is no. True story, I started this, I was begging and trying and pleading to get into a med spa so that I can get some experience, because generally speaking, that's what we would think we need to do. But after rejection after rejection after rejection, I just decided to build my own table. And so that meant that I was going to leverage the money that I had in order to get the experience and training by paying other people to show me the ropes. And that's essentially what I have done. I have helped more nurses and nurse practitioners than any other specialty. I have helped them launch. So don't feel like there's this certain magic checkbox that you need to have, because that's not the case. All right. The next question I get is like, well, should I obtain my skills first? So I am going to tell you, based on my experience, what my recommendation is. And my recommendation is, do not go and get trained without a plan, okay? If you know you want to own a business, meaning own a med spa or an aesthetic practice, then you should become the business owner first and get the skills second, right? Because if you train and then you have decided that you want to actually own your practice, then you have just trained and had no opportunity to actually implement the skills that you learned from your training, which is such a waste. So my suggestion, do not, I repeat, do not train first unless you know your goal is to just work for a practice and you're willing to dedicate the time that it's going to take for you to be able to actually get in. Now, when it comes to business planning, you guys, I don't know how else to say it without just saying it straight out. You need to have a business plan. And especially if you are starting from scratch, like you are someone who is starting this business without any background, and especially if you are trying to do this self-funded, you need a business plan. And here's why I will tell you that, because how are you going to know when you arrive at your destination if you don't have the location? And yes, it's going to change over time, but it gives you a starting point, which I feel is extremely important. If you are interested in learning more and you want to go deeper in this, then I strongly suggest you click in the description box and get the free mini med spa training. This Medspa mini training is full of value and really guides you through the necessary steps that you need to take if you're interested in launching this type of practice. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you also comment if there are other topics and questions that you may have around this topic that I can deliver to you in the form of a YouTube video. Until next time, you guys, take care. Bye.